Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I have my co-host next to me, but he's sitting kind of low right now. You can see a little bit of him. If you're new, welcome to my channel. On my channel I talk about how I use my law of attraction planner, and I also go into some life-changing books that I like to share with you guys. It's a new series that I wanted to try out this year. So the way that I thought that the life-changing book series was kind of gonna play out was just to share 2 to 3 books with you guys and share the top 3 lessons that I got from each of them. But this month I honestly really felt compelled to just talk about one book in particular and just really dive into the story. And instead of sharing 3 lessons that I took from this book, he actually has a couple of questions in the back of the book that this might seem a little funny, but that he asked the moon about, and I'll explain it all in a second. So if you want to hear the questions that he asks the moon, then just keep watching. So to begin with, let me tell you a little bit about the author. His name is Gerard Armand Powell, and in the book he is described as a conscious entrepreneur, a thought leader, philanthropist, a public speaker whose mission is to transform lives. He has a place in Costa Rica called Rhythmia Life Advancement Center, and it's in Guanacaste. And the funny thing is, while I was reading this book, my mom was actually over in Costa Rica visiting family, and I'm just like, man, if I was able to go with her, I would have totally went and maybe toured Rhythmia. That would have been so awesome to see. It's called Stuff the Moon Says, and I'm not gonna say this word right here because we all know what's going on with the whole demonetizing thing going on YouTube land, and I'm trying to be on my best behavior. But Stuff the Moon Said is what the book is called, and I have been seeing this book circulating through my feed, partly because I do follow a lot of spiritual pages and spiritual people. I mean, the title says A Story of Sex, Drugs, and Ayahuasca. And the first time I actually heard about ayahuasca, if you guys don't know what it is, let me actually pull up the exact definition. It is a tropical vine native to the Amazon region, noted for its hallucinogenic properties. And below that it says a hallucinogenic drink prepared from the bark. It was actually really random how I came across knowing about it. I was watching Chelsea Handler's documentary on Netflix, and I don't know if they still have it there, but she went to Peru with a couple of her friends, and then they tried ayahuasca, and then she went on like this crazy trip. And what I heard about it is that it's supposed to really transform your life. You're supposed to have this like awakening experience. It sounds really intense. I mean, the footage that she showed from when she went and tried this, you saw people screaming and crying, and like it got really intense. That was the first time hearing about ayahuasca, so I already kind of was familiarized with what it was. In the beginning of the book, he mentions that his life purpose is to advance the evolution of consciousness. So the way that he kind of explains his story is that he goes into a little bit of his past, how successful he was. He was a millionaire in his 20s. I mean, he had everything. He bought houses, cars, jets. He had women. I mean, he had it all. But still he felt that emptiness inside of him, and also like that itch of greed that you just want more, you just want more, not ever satisfied with how much you have. He goes into detail about all of that, how he felt, how it was the darkest place he had ever been in his life. He would go try to get some help, change a little bit, but then go right back to his ways. So he never really had that life-changing awakening that some people have, like when they have life or death experiences, or just, you know, are on a spiritual journey and kind of get that awakening moment. He was seeking it, but it never happened to him yet. And listening to that story kind of reminded me of The Wolf of Wall Street, how the character played by Leonardo DiCaprio was kind of on this downward spiral. So one day a friend of his kind of reached out to him and said, you know, I knew somebody that was kind of like you, and they went to Costa Rica, tried plant medicine, and came back a totally different person. He really didn't know what plant medicine really meant. So what she said was plant medicine had a unique effect on many people who took it in a carefully conducted ceremony with an experienced shaman and in a sacred space. She goes on to say that the plant medicine brought on a psycho-spiritual journey, a kind of life review. Think of Scrooge from A Christmas Carol, and the way that he kind of goes into detail on his trip. He was seeing himself in the past when he was younger, and also in the present tense, but he was seeing himself. Like it was like an out-of-body experiencing himself, looking at himself. It was crazy. And then she says that it would be a tremendously insightful, powerful healing, and could literally reset the boundaries of who you are and what you're capable of. So then he went to Costa Rica, got picked up by his shaman. They drove over to the location, which he said was a really raggedy, shady looking place. I mean, it was kind of dirty, but he went with it. And then the day of the ceremony, he says that they all had a clear directive. So they had to write down 10 questions that were important to them and that they would want the plant medicine to answer. There was people sitting around in a circle. The shaman gave him the plant medicine, blindfolded him, and then he says, when you see something, raise your hand. So he was waiting around, seeing if he was gonna see something. And then all of a sudden he says that he saw like a cat. And then he's like, couldn't I have seen something a little more exciting other than like a regular house cat? Then a minute later he saw a tiger. So then the shaman came up to him, tapped him on the shoulder and said, when you see my finger, let me know. But remember, he was blindfolded. But Gerard said that he actually saw the finger very clearly. So the shaman was like, how many fingers do you see? He goes, 3. The shaman says, good man, look at the ceiling. Then he says, make the ceiling disappear. So he did. Now this is where the part where like things get crazy. He makes the ceiling disappear. He sees a bunch of stars. He goes jumping into the stars. Then he sees the moon, literally like flies into the moon and has a conversation with the moon. And by the way, it's Mrs. Moon. He's pretty freaked out. So he asks the shaman, he's like, what do I do now? And the shaman was like, ask her your first question. But he didn't remember what it was, so the shaman kind of helped him out and told him what it was. So he asked her, Mrs. Moon, why am I such a jerk? And I'm gonna say jerk because he uses another word, and she says, I can't tell you until you go get your soul. The whole purpose behind this book is to help people reconnect with their soul, which is pretty much why this is a life-changing experience for a lot of people, because in this book, it kind of explains that we separate from our souls, you know, yes, at different times, but a lot of the times it happens when we're young at some point, and we're all on this journey together, coming back together with our souls. So what the moon did was take Gerard back in time, show him the things, the reasons why he became such a jerk, why he treated people like crap, why he treated women the way he treated them. And they were things that he blocked out from his memory, things that he really asked himself, like, did this really happen? I think one of the coolest things that he was talking about while he was on the plant medicine was how the moon actually gave him a new heart, a brand new heart. The moon opened up his chest, took his heart out, tried to clean it, but then when she was going to put it back in his chest, it would turn black again. So it was black, it was dirty. Then he asked the moon to give him a new heart, which she did. Like, she gave him a new heart, put it back in his chest. I actually heard people that are Christian talk about a part in the Bible that says that once you're reborn, you get a new heart. Like, God gives you a new heart. So I saw the correlation to that, and I'm like, wow, like, that's really cool. It's cool to see that all these beliefs that are divided into different categories and titles all kind of have the same idea and concept. So then the book continues on. After he had his like big awakening, he went back to his home. He's very honest in saying that he did go back to his ways just a little bit, like back to the drinking and things like that, and like sleeping with randoms. The feeling he had afterwards was different. He felt nothing of it. He didn't congratulate himself by not feeling anything, but he didn't judge himself either. Like, he says it was like a very neutral feeling, almost like indifference. Then he goes on and says, I started to realize the real essence of my addiction. My attachments to drugs, alcohol, and sex, and to being a big shot were only secondary addictions. The real addiction was the drama that those things created. Think about it. A lot of people are attached to drama, which is why a lot of the times people stop themselves from being happy. Like, if they get in a happy relationship, they have to sabotage it because they just can't have themselves being happy. They expect things to go wrong. He says the lack of drama is going to affect you when you reconnect with your wholeness. It's a huge transition. And despite the fact that reconnecting with your soul self is very positive, there will be a time when you experience it as depression. So think of it as like a huge transition from who you used to be to who you are now. I can't even imagine how that feels. But he gives you tips on how to adjust to the new norm, and then goes on to saying how he amends his relationship with his kids and the people from his past, and how he opened up this new place in Costa Rica called Rhythmia because he wants to help people around the world reconnect with their souls. And the funny thing is, Even before I picked this book up, there was a documentary that was on my feed on YouTube, just like kind of surfacing, and I never really paid any mind to it. Okay, the documentary is called The Reality of Truth, and it's on the YouTube channel called Thrive Movement. And then he talks about that documentary in this book. So after I read the book, I saw the documentary, and it goes hand in hand. I mean, in the documentary, Michelle Rodriguez is in it, Deepak is in it, Joel Osteen. I mean, these really big spiritual leaders were in that documentary. So that was kind of like my little synopsis on what this book is all about. But I really want to get into the questions that he asked the moon himself while he was on the plant medicine. He has like a list of questions, so I'm just gonna pick a few. So the way that it's structured is question, answer, and then he gives a little description after that. I want to get into the juicy questions. Okay, one question he had was, where is heaven? The moon said, heaven and hell are in the same place within you. So then he writes, I have the power to choose love or fear, good or bad, trust or judgment. I own the decision to choose the emotion and the intention that will yield one outcome or another, heaven or hell. So that's super interesting. Ooh, this one's another good one. Is there such a thing as bad luck? What she says is, no, you manifest everything, good and bad, ugly and beautiful, and whatever else is in between. I believe in that. He says, our thoughts and words are powerful tools, though through them we choose our destiny. So choose your thoughts and words purposefully and with positive intent for the good of yourself and for those affected by you. I believe that wholeheartedly. It kind of goes into the whole karma thing too. Ooh, another good one he says is, what urgent advice can you give me? And she says, use your time wisely. And then he says, time is of the essence. Invest time in what brings you bountiful joy and pure love. Everything else is a waste of time. So true. YOLO, do the things that make you happy. Ooh, this is a good one. Am I supposed to be monogamous? To be really happy, you should be with just one person. But do whatever you want as long as you're honest with everyone concerned. Doesn't that make so much sense though? He says being open, honest, and truthful to yourself and those around you is the golden rule for all relationships. It is up to you to define your happiness. If monogamy is what you desire, then share this with your partner. If this is not your desire, then find like-minded people. Ooh, another good one. To whom should I pray? She says, you are the God of you. Pray to your higher self or anyone you choose to, as God is everything and everything is God. And that's awesome because it's like I go back and forth with calling the universe God and God in the universe. And at the end of the day, God is everything. So no matter what you call it, you're still referring to God. And he says, it's our nature to question and all the answers are within ourselves. And honestly, questioning is good. If you're not questioning things, if you're not questioning your beliefs or religion and all that, get into some research. Another good one he asks, how can disease be healed? She says, reconnect the soul with the body. And so what he goes on to say is feed the body vegetables, nature's little miracles, and the body will heal itself. Once we are able to embrace the trauma of childhood, the moment disconnection from our soul took place, we can reconnect to our authentic self. Once this occurs, we are responsible for nurturing ourselves through nature's food. I definitely see veganism highlighted through people's spiritual journeys all the time. I might go into maybe like 2 more questions. He asks, why do we need to disconnect and forget our true selves? Why do we need to become someone else? She says, you were designed to forget, which is the only way to expand your consciousness. You need to feel completely new and alone in order to understand that you're not alone at all. Whoa. So then he writes, people are like technology. We arrive with a full operating system, including hardware and software. Then we're programmed, reprogrammed, stuff comes in and out, goes in and out, and we are left with a compromised system. Until we debug the system and press the refresh button, we aren't able to clear and trust the operating system we came in with. Okay, and then this is the last question I'm gonna get into. But he goes on to say, sometimes it all seems so hard. Can you do me a big favor? In my next life, could you bring me to my soul connection very quickly? Can I find happiness right away? And she says, Jerry, that's a request about next time, but it's the same request you used last time. That's awesome. And then he says, how we can find happiness in the true sense of the word and how we can find it sooner than later. There's a simple answer to this, but it's not necessarily going to be an easy one. As I try to show in these pages, happiness becomes possible when connection with our souls is restored. This is the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Hindu, one of the world's great spiritual texts, which teaches that our soul is awaiting in infinity for us to discover it again. That discovery, that reconnection can happen in many ways, and it can happen at any time, today or this week or this month or perhaps next time, as the moon said, when the universe recycles us back into this existence again. But you will reconnect with your soul, I'm sure of that. And if this book helps you do it quickly, then I will certainly feel happiness. More than that, I will feel truly blessed. And that's how he ends the book. You can honestly read this book in a day. It's very thin, amazing read. It opens your mind, and you have to go in this with an open mind. But I highly recommend it. I feel like there's nothing wrong with questioning, with researching, with learning about different perspectives, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. We all have different perspectives of this thing we call life. Well, that, my friends, concludes today's video. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It would make me so happy. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.